Welcome to the Only Fools of Horses Aintree preview. Really looking forward to getting stuck into the national and all the grade ones across 3 days of Aintree Festival. Lads, I'll bring you in. Look, last time we're on, we had the big preview. We had some guests on. It's just us three. We're keeping it in-house this time. We're there at Cheltenham. It was half of a bloodbath, let's say. We're hoping for a few better selections and better luck this time. It was... Look, mixed results for some people, good for other people. How did we fare? Ash, look, I'll come to you first. How's Aintree going to compare to Cheltenham? Are you going to be dodging some of these Cheltenham horses? Because it's a quick turnaround as well. We've got a gap to punch us down, but Aintree, Cheltenham, quick turnaround. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it's something that we have to sort of weigh into our equations every year, and it's almost something that we sort of we talk about and then don't do it, and then we look after and we go, geez, wasn't that obvious? He was never going to go to Aintree and perform that the same. I am backing a couple of Cheltenham horses on form, and I'm avoiding some that have been freshened up for Aintree as such. But look, it is going to be different this year. I think the ground's going to be the big one, really. There's a lot of horses that are going to appreciate slight cut in the ground. It is going to be fairly quick at Aintree. They can shut the water on, but it is still going to be quite quick. It's windy, it's sunny, it's nice temperatures. It's perfect for that good to soft, good in places ground. So look, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I always say that I prefer it when a meeting is either bottomless or really quick. Yeah. We're getting really quick, so it's time to put the proof in the pudding, I suppose.
Yeah, you kind of know where you stand, I suppose, the horses that like it. Harry, what about you? Look, quick turnaround. I know Ash is keen on a horse that won at Cheltenham on the first day, but what about you? Are you trying to dodge some of these Cheltenham horses and keeping the legs fresh?
Look, I think it's obviously it's one of the big talking points, isn't it? You know, from Cheltenham to Aintree, the turnaround is much quicker this year than it has been. It's a great festival. You know, you kind of you think you have some sort of idea of where the pecking order is after Cheltenham, but when you actually look at the cards and you look at the declarations, you don't really have a clue. You know, it's completely up in the air. I looking at the declarations, obviously we've got tomorrow and we've got Friday. But you kind of know who's going to go on Saturday for the Lambeth. You know, obviously probably the big one. I think it's a fascinating week. I'm really looking forward to it. As Ash mentioned, the ground's going to play a big part. You know, obviously there's been quite a bit on welfare about the national in the last few years. It'd be really interesting to see how they slow down the national course, because obviously that was one of the big talking points of keeping the ground on the slower side. But we haven't had rain. Well, we haven't had rain for quite some time, really, and not substantially enough to impact the ground. So yeah, it's a bizarre week, and but it's a great week, isn't it?
Yeah, cracking. They've got great vibes there down in Liverpool. They really do, and it's party central sometimes. The few years that I've been, anyways, I'm looking forward to getting down myself. So, lads, we're going to crack on to the first day. Got 4 grade ones. I did put a post out. Willie Mullins, he's got horses in all of the races. He's got none in the bumper, though, there on the first day. No Willie's in the bumper. But the first race we're going to kick off with is the Grade 1. Imperial Pass leads the market. 5-2 market leader. Django Bay, the Arco winner there in 11-4. Croke Park, 4-1 for Gordon Elliott, who's been out of form. He's only on 3% straight rate in the last 14 days. Something to keep note of. Gidley Park's in there, Rubord, the Kaluki kid, you can get 33 bar those. Ash, you're getting first stab. I know you are very keen on Django Bay for the Arco. We'll mention that quick turnaround. Are you going to stick with him for Nicky Henderson and Nico?
Yeah, look, laying the cards on the table, I am worried about the turnaround. There was an interview with Nick Henderson maybe 10 days ago or so where he was at Newbury. I think he said that Django Bay was the one that he was worried that might not make it to Aintree, but it seems like they're happy to send him there. Apart from that, I think he's the most likely winner. He's going to appreciate going back up in trip. He appreciates this nice ground. I have a small question mark about Imperial Pass on the ground. Yes, he won the elite hurdle on good ground last season, but that was Sandown good. I'm not sure how much you can really take that into account. And some of his best form, like winning the Forheen, comes on slower conditions. I just think that Django Bay, he gets to slow down over this trip. He can jump a lot better than he did in the Arkle. And that Arkle form on paper looks pretty decent with Majborough and Lerdersud. So he'd be my one. He's probably one of my better bets of the first day. I do fancy him, and hopefully he can cap off what's been a great season.
Yeah, it's been a great season. Do you think that like slightly better ground will help him? Look, he kind of got stuck slightly against handstands at Sandown. Will that aid him or be with him or not?
I think it will aid him. You know, you look at last season when he was second to handstands in a graded novice hurdle. That came on sort of slightly softer conditions as well. And you look at his run in the meeting last year at Aintree when he was behind Katira. I think it was good soft ground officially that day, and it was definitely sort of spring ground. And he ran an absolute belting race. This isn't how I thought his season was going to go. Maybe this is where I thought his season would end in the manifesto. But I thought he'd be more of a brand advisory staying type. He's now sort of like having to show that he can do 2.5 in a grade one, but he definitely can. He was beaten by a good horse in handstands in the Scilly Isles. I have absolutely no doubts about that. So yeah, the ground's up his street, definitely.
Nice. Harry, what about you? Ash is sticking with the Arkle winner. The slight quick turnaround is a worry for Ash, but he's happy with him on the trip. What about you? What's it in Perrier Pass? Grade one winner there, beat the likes of Bob Ollinger in Langadan there in a grade one hurdle last season. Can he bounce back, let's say, over fences, or are you going with the Arkle winner?
No, Django Bay's probably one that it just screams, the step of one trip he probably wants, the good ground he wants, but there's just something about Django Bay in the last week or so that I really want to take him on, and I think Croke Park is that sort of horse. I think the fact that Gordon's kept him back for so long, and he's kept him back, obviously the run behind Ballyburn, they were missing probably Cheltenham, worried about Ballyburn. Whereas if they'd have turned up, it'd have probably won the Brown Advisory. It's one of those. He looks a stayer, he jumps well, and I just think that the Django Bay, I don't think he obviously looked impressive coming up the hill, but was it? Did it flatter to deceive? Margeborough would have probably won. Lotus would probably hit the. Harry Skelton said he hit the front too soon. You're looking at the others in there. I'm just thinking and questioning. I think Croke Park has what it takes, and the Irish obviously won the race in the last couple of years, and I think they'll win it again this year.
Nice, lads. Thank you. One for Django B and one for Croke Park there. We've got to move on to the juvenile hurdle. Just quickly, I'm going to say, so the lads, at the end, they're going to go head to head, right? So they're going to do some selections, some naps, next best. They're going to do an each way, a Grand National selection, and a lay of the 3 days. They're going to do like a point system, head to head. The loser's going to chuck 20 quid into a charity pot. Are we going to do Injured Jockeys Fund, lads?
Yeah,
sounds good to me.
Jockeys Fund, so 20 quid. And also there's a 20 quid free bet. So anybody who comments, I've put it on my page. I'll link it up. So I'll either give you the 20 quid or 2 tenors to whoever gets tagged as well. So a nice comment, the best comment, and I'll pick from either one of them. So there's 20 quid up for grabs for a national bet, and also 20 quid's going to definitely go into the Injured Jockeys Fund from one of the lads. Whoever gets beat, it is. So, yeah, look, we'll kick on to the juvenile hurdle. It is the grade one. Put your hands together. 13-8 favourite now. Absolutely smashed in the market. There's a few drifters in here. Harry, I'm going to get you first stabs because very impressive in the Fred Winter was Put Your Hands Together. But 13-8 smashed up in the market. What do you make of this market move? And is he the one to be with?
Yeah, I think he will be the one that I will be signing with regardless of the price. I think he's probably the best animal in this race. Obviously, Lalamba was supposed to be in here. He goes on the ground, that performance at Cheltenham, I thought. Mark Walsh looked the winner, going down the back straight, where the hustle and bustle. He just seemed to really like the race. Obviously, if you look at this race at the market probably 2 days ago, obviously, you had the likes of Lalamba at the top. But you had Live Conti, who was seeing all of the money in the betting. I just think that Put Your Hands Together is just going to be a better horse. Live Conti will probably end up being a nice chaser. The fact that they've put him back for Aintree is not a bad thing. But he won an absolute pig of a race at Wetherby, and that was, but to say at least. And I think Harry Skelton came out and said that it was that bad of a race. It was dire. Put Your Hands Together, he's battle hardened, Mark Walsh, the way that he was riding at Cheltenham was, you didn't want to be on any other horse. It was only Townend who was given a few certainties that got it past him. But Mark Walsh, I think, will do the steering. Joseph loves a winner at Aintree, and I'm willing to side with the horse who I can't desert him. You know, he did me well at Cheltenham, so I'll side with him again. Put your hands together.
Fine. Put your hands together for Harry. Ash, what about you? Look, Live Conti didn't have to win a tough race, let's say. What Harry mentioned there is on the drift, though. He's back out to an each way price if you think that he could step up to the grade. There's plenty in here. Naturally Nimble is in a 6-1. Live Conti is now 15-2 best odds. Mauricio is 17-2. Wendrock 11-1. Mambo number 5, who bagged a race at Kempton there, I think was a grade 2 in and around 16s. What do you like, Ash? Is there an each way playing here?
I'm not too sure. I do think this lands with the Joseph O'Brien runners. Now, the Live Conti, like, he's a horse who came from France and won on heavy. He won at Weatherby on soft. He's got quite a soft ground laden pedigree. I don't think he's going to really like this ground. I don't think this is his bag, and he's kind of like a horse of the future. You sort of read between the lines. Like, he's a nice horse, and he's going to obviously take his chance here, but yeah, the drift I think is worrying. I do think this lands between the two Joseph O'Brien horses. I had Put Your Hands Together as my each way play when he was 12-1 before all the horses got taken out, and now he's 13-8. I'm like, well, it's, you know, what kind of race is this? So he'd be my vote. He's not a betting prospect at the prices, but I do think he won the Fred Winter quite nicely. He looked like a graded horse. Did he look like a grade 1 horse? I don't know. But do any of these look like grade 1 horses at this stage of their career? Probably not. So I think he's the most likely winner just because he's going to like that ground. And yeah, he's probably got that speed edge, having been a flat horse. He's rated 84 on the flat, so you could just kick away from them nicely. I'd be Put Your Hands Together here. Yeah, see how it goes. But the price is absolutely gone.
Yeah, fair dues. Look, lads, we'll move on to the next grade 1, but Put Your Hands Together. 2 votes for Put Your Hands Together for the lads. It is the ball. Great Donan leads the market here. Spilllands Tower saved as well. Great Donan has had half a prep run, let's say. It Kelso beat a Rocco, 5-2 market leader there. Spilllands Tower disappointing in the King George as the market leader, but things didn't pan out for them too in the King George. 3-1 next best. Ahoy Senor loves it round here. 6-1. Gaelic Warrior, the enigma is Gaelic Warrior. 9-1. Stage Star 9s. Embassy Garden, the choice of Paul Townend as well. Patrick will take the ride on Gaelic Warrior. Paul Townend's going to be on Embassy Gardens at 11s. Ash, Grey Dawn slightly disappointed in a couple of runs, but maybe some tough races have took it out of him. Is he a worthy market leader, and is he ideal the winner?
He's a worthy market leader. I have tried to work this race out, and I think I have, but whenever that happens, it goes really wrong. Grey Dawning's a very worthy favourite, but I just wonder if he wants it this quick. Like, I know Kelso was probably on the better side and he showed himself nicely, but you look for his novice hurdling, and even when he came here as a novice chase last season, he does like to gallop, and I just think he could be prone to a potentially speedier one on the ground, but he's the market leader and he is for a reason. Spilllands Tower, I think, has got more ground worries. I remember seeing an interview, is it David Kenya on Twitter, the Irishman? He was speaking to Jimmy Mangan ahead of King George, and he said he's an old-fashioned chaser. We wouldn't want to run him on good ground. And then they've come out 2 weeks ago and gone, well, you know, the bowl is going to be his next run, and you're thinking this is proper nice ground. Gaelic Warrior, I have to thank Paul Townend for choosing Embassy Gardens and saving me not putting money on Gaelic Warrior. Because if Paul Townend was jocked up, I would have been backing Gaelic Warrior here. But I also watched a podcast where Ruby Walsh basically said if this race was in 2 weeks' time, I think he'd have a better chance. Which screams to me Punchestown. So I'd like to see Gaelic Warrior Punchestown. Stage Star has a pretty bad record around Aintree, and I actually think some of his better ground comes on softer ground. Embassy Gardens is a soft ground debate as well. Same for Jello. The Real Whacker's got a great chance, by the way. He's the bigger each way play on the ground. He's got a chance. I think he's my second chance in this, but the one who I've left out is Ahoy Senor. He's 6 outings at Aintree, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. The 1 third was this season when an eye catcher in the Old Roan. He was second in the bowl behind Shishkin, second in the bowl last season on probably too soft a ground for him. He's going to like the ground. He'll go around well around here. He was going well in the Gold Cup before just tipping up. Classic Ahoy Senor. I just think he's a different horse around Aintree, and he's my vote, but the Real Whacker for maybe a dead heat.
Yeah, look, maybe it's a little save on the real work for Ash, but High Senior loves it here. Like you say, second to Jerry Colom in this last season, and second in a couple of seasons ago. And like you say, eye catch and run in the old run chase, but loves it round here, as does most of Lucinda Russell's horses. For some reason, they just take to this course. Harry, look, you were jubilant there when Ash rode in with High Senior. Is it going to be another vote for him?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's just Lucinda at this meeting, especially this meeting, it's a match made in heaven. Now, look, you can call me cynical and you can call me an absolute psycho, both of which I am, right? Yeah, but like, for example, he made his season reappearance in the Old Rome, where he obviously finished 2 lengths behind the Ella Drama. They had a steward's report as long as my dissertation last year, you know, all about the ride that Derek Fox gave him. He went to Haydock on, you know, which I thought was a pretty quick turnaround. I didn't expect to see him in there. He just did not go whatsoever. I think the ground went against him. It was an absolute bog. You can write that one off. You can write the Windsor race off, because that's Protectorate's Gold Cup, and that is an absolute, you know, that Windsor form, especially over the jumps, in my opinion, means absolutely nothing. And then goes to the Gold Cup, and he's actually, like Ash was saying, running really well, you know. And that's the way. That's the way I.
It was a long way from home, lads.
He showed it. He showed more of us. He showed at least a little bit of a spark to think that today. I just think last year, obviously, Ginny Destiny, I know, Grey Dawn. I know it's different because he's arriving here fresh, but he beat a Rocco. He beat Ginny. They both succumbed to Elite Tomps last time. This time last year, Spillans Tower has got loads of questions to answer, especially the last time. Obviously, Jimmy Mangum reported that, you know, he'd lost so much weight when he came over for the King George. I really think Ahoy Senor, this is his day. Patrick Wadge obviously takes the ride, and I'd imagine they go from the front, and, you know, it is going to be some clip that they go.
Yeah, look, it's a really nice race. Look, I didn't really fancy anything in the first couple of races. I will kind of weigh in and say, look, I'll make the case for Spillans Tower, because that run to split Factor Fail and Galloping Deschamps in the John Derkham at Punchestown, I think that is a standout piece of form. He come there with a kind of wet sail and come to win the race. He just got seen off by Factor Fail. There's no harm in that. We've seen what he done the Ryanair. He beat the you know, a dual Gold Cup winner, and he's run an admirable race in the Gold Cup. I know he was second. I don't think he was quite all there on the day, but he still ran a huge race. And to split them, I think that was a cracking run. But yeah, look, the ground is a worry. Jimmy Mangan, like Ash had mentioned, the ground was key to not running in other places, maybe, and now they're going to take the chance. But that they have been piling on the water. It is the first day. It's probably going to be the softest. I probably would row in with Spillans Tower. I think it's between the top three. I like the High Senior case. I will have a saver on a High Senior. I'm not going to lie. Grey Dawning would be the least of mine that I would take because of the ground. I think he really does need that ground. I can see him winging around it, but I think that might affect him. If Gaelic Warrior wins, I'm one of his biggest fans. I'll go berserk. But I seen it the same as Ash. Ruby said he needs a couple more extra weeks. That put us off. He's better going the other way around. I think Punchestown is the key for him. So yeah, look, Spillans Tower, High Senior, couple of them dogs.
Can I just say, it's mental for a horse that everyone like active, not dislikes, but goes, geez, Ahoy Senor can't win a race like this. I've seen so many people put Ahoy Senor up for this race. It's mental.
Is his race though, basically, isn't it? The thing.
I think it's for a horse who people actively try to avoid season on season and say he always promises and never delivers. There's so many people that are putting Ahoy Senor up. I think it's absolutely crazy. Yeah,
look, he is sometimes the best man rather than the groom, let's say. Lads, we will move on. It is a fascinating clash between Constitution Hill and Lossiemouth, because we're over that middle trip. Look, Constitution Hill's won it a couple of seasons ago. Lossiemouth, she is a knack round this trip. And look, they met in the Christmas hurdle. They went head to head. It didn't play in the strength of Lossiemouth. Can she turn that around? Ash, I'm going to come to you first. It's seemingly between the two. Look, Woodhoo is done nothing wrong. Won the Martin Pipe, has been bolting up in races and winning off big weights. But I feel like it's a bridge too far for the rest of them. Is it a case of a head-to-head and who you're taking?
Well, I think there's probably going to be a super boost on Constitution Hill tomorrow, and it's going to make everyone really quite wary, let's put it that way. I think he wins. I think there's maybe...
horny is the word you're looking for.
I think a lot of people are crabbing Constitution Hill a bit slightly unfairly just from falling at Cheltenham. I don't think he was ever going to stand up at that hurdle. I think he just took off too soon. There was the case made that the hurdle flicked back, and it did, but where he hits the hurdle, he's never really going to get over that. I think even if the hurdle was there,
already not out, wasn't it? It was even. But I seen it come back, and I thought, is that the case? I just don't think the landing gear was out, was it? Pretty
much. I think he just took off too early, and I think he was just getting a bit cute for his jumping. You know, he's got away with it a couple of times, and that's the time that stung him. I just think he will win this. Lossiemouth, I can't get out of my head how negative the Mullins camp were before the Mares Hurdle. Like, they were so negative about her that they ran her in the Mares rather than Champion Hurdle. Willie Mullins said in the morning of the Gallops that she's, like, in the last couple of weeks, her work suggested she's just a runner kind of thing, rather than saying that she's this like good chance in the Mares Hurdle. I think Constitution Hill will probably go and take this, and it'd be nice to see him go and win. And he's not a bad price. 10 to 11 is not a bad price at all. I think if you fancy him, then yeah, why not have a tenner here and there, you know?
Shop around, I think he's even money already, you know. People are willing to take him on. I see plenty of people want to go with Lossiemouth. Harry, what about you? Can the mare reverse the Christmas hurdle form from Kempton and use this trip to her advantage against him, which, look, he's only ran over at one time and he won, but it wasn't his most impressive, let's say. So what say you?
Look, my opinion still stands. I think he'll win. I think whatever Lossiemouth kind of does, I just think it's going to play into his hands. People crabbing the Aintree from a couple of years ago. Look, he took the running up for so long there. He did his own running. He made a target for his own back, and then he kind of quickened up. Now the one bet that I would have in this, and it's a bet that I had in the Mares Hurdle, and I had take no chances to each way, purely because of she'll be played late, and she might just pick up some pieces. Now I am not by any means saying that she will finish either in front of Lossiemouth or Constitution Hill. However, I've just looked at the prices now. William Hill are offering 7-1 without those two. Now that means she's got to beat Woodhoo, who I think is going to go with them, and that could just break her. You know, I think that, you know, Harry Skelton, this horse is obviously going to be looking at black type. The shows Woodhoo, don't get me wrong, but I just think at 7-1, I think that I'd be willing to lose a 5 or a 10 just on her coming from the back, and you know, if she can pick up the pieces, then happy days.
No, I like that angle. Look, there's only a couple of places if you're playing the each way market there, but it's a nice angle in, Harry. 7-1, take no chances. Harry's taking a chance there against, that's without the front two in the market. Ash is doubling his bubble. You can get around even money there for Constitution Hill, and it's going to be a fascinating clash even. But yeah, look, lads, we'll move on. I'm just going to quickly say anything else from day one, just while we're on it. There's the hunters there. We see the first sight of the Grand National Fences. We don't need no explanation kind of thing, just a one line maybe. Anything from the first day, Ash?
Yeah, I'll go forward. Sure, he's well found in the market, but I think will it go ahead will win the Fox Hunters. He screamed like a horse who needed Aintree in 2.5 at Cheltenham last time out. I think I like this ground. He's well found. And my other one would be in the Red Rum. There's not many horses that are well handicapped in this, but I think one of them who could be is Petit Tonnerre. He's still on a mark of 130. He likes nice ground. He was going well at Doncaster last time out when he fell. He won off 125 under a very canny Rishi McClellan ride. Sort of just got there right at the correct time so that the handicapper can't give him too much. The cheap pieces remain on. I think that's a big nod in his favour. I think Petit Tonnerre's got a great chance in the Red Rum. Although Sombreux is arriving off last year's winning mark, and I backed the horse last year, I do think Sombreux needs soft ground, so that's why I'm avoiding him.
Very nice. Look, I do like that will it go ahead angle. I do think that people just commenting and stuff. I do think that drop back and trip is the right move. I think he tanked round and he's a quick jump, Ash. If anybody gets a chance to watch back, I think he clouted one at the top of the hill, but often horses get in each other's way, and it happens in that type of race. But the jumps that he was putting in, he's a very good jumper. So what
he'll go through the top of the national fence, which is what you need to do with this modern day. You don't jump them like Red Rum. You have to go through them, and he'll do that.
First bingo card take for Red Rum. Harry, what about you? Anything from the first day? Anything else? Handicaps? What you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the last race, and I'm going to have a good go each way. Yeah, I'm going to have a good go each way on Fergal's outsider of the trio, Liam Harrison on board, Highland Haven. Now, if there's one horse that's going to love the ground tomorrow, it will be her. She will, look, you go back to her Foss last run, and albeit it wasn't the greatest of races, but she will do exactly that. And if they go hell for leather, she'll be carving through them. And Fergal's got a great record in the race. Obviously, Dysart Enos won the race 2 years ago. Yeah. And he got... Who won the race last year?
Diva Luna. Yeah, with Keelan
Diva Luna won the race. Yeah, and then look, Fergal's flying as well. His social media man is out in Dubai currently. I know he's out in Dubai actually. Yes, I am very jealous of him and my boss. But no, we'll look after the office back home, and we'll cheer on Highland Haven because I really think she's got a massive chance. Just 22-1.
Yeah, you can get 4 places. You definitely need to shop about 22 shout in the bumper there. Fergal's got 3 in it. He has won it twice 2 years ago, like you say, with Dysart Enos. I do like Blue Betty. I did put it up on my page. I think she's got a good chance each way. If you can get them extra places, take them, shop about. But she bolted up in Newcastle. She's only had 1 run. Straight away after, I was standing next to Keelan Woods, he said, Aintree bumper, that'll do me. So, look, he was a gleaming afterwards, and I think she won as she liked, and she's well related. Out in Geordie land as well, through the mix of them type of horses, Blue Brazil as well. But yeah, look, we'll move on to day 2. Nice and easy that day 1. I think it gets a little bit trickier as we're going in, lads. We've got the Mildmay, the Novices tiers. It is the Grade 1. Look, there's plenty of options here. I think it's a very tough race. Cadwell Potter leads the market there, 15-8. Dancing City well back now with a few defections, 7-2 next best. Stella Story's in 11-2. Cue de Bourbon is 15-2. You can get 12s bar those. Harry, I'll give you first stab at the Mildmay, the Novices chase, another Grade 1, and this kicks off on Friday.
Yeah, I think Caldwell Potter, he really surprised me actually. I think Dancing City was a horse that I really was looking forward to. He just doesn't go on the ground, and that's the way I've been looking at it. But I just think Caldwell Potter, he's got that under the back. That had done in the world of good. Now it's easy saying that, and it's a bit stupid, absolutely saying that. But horses like that, he might just need his confidence, and he's not actually ran that bad this year. He's just obviously looking for the price tag, and people are obviously trying to justify it. Now, they are well within their reason to do that because this horse cost an absolute fortune. But when you look at the performance that he put up at Cheltenham, he jumped like a buck. He looked like he could have gone round again. And Harry Cobden, if he does the same thing on Friday, then I'd say good luck following him because everyone loves a jumping grey, and I certainly will if he's jumping the last in front.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Ash? Look, handstands in there. Cadwell Potter bolted up at Cheltenham and Dancing City. Like Harry says, will he go on the ground? He was a winner here over hurdles last season, but it's transferring into this better ground. Look, it is very quick, isn't it? Let's say that.
It will be, yeah. There's a comment, by the way, earlier on from Richard Hogan. Just want to address this, asking if this is a real saddlecloth in the background. It is. Answers on the postcard who that is. The sponsor may give it away, and then obviously there's the number. Answers on the postcard who that's the saddlecloth of.
I can't even remember who that is, actually.
It's number 5 in a Boodle saddlecloth last couple of years at the festival. Anyway, the horse, like, this is a really tough race for me. I think it's between the top two. I think the others have question marks on the ground, and then further the bigger price question marks on ability. Caldwell Potter, with my pedigree head on, I'd love him to run in this race and run well because he's out of Matney. Obviously relates to Mighty Potter, Bryce Days Ahead. This suggests to me that he will enjoy this step up in trip. I'm just not sure if the ground is going to be for him. Like, it's a quick turnaround from when he bolstered up in the Jack Richards. Jack Richards is also in good stuff, but this is probably going to be slightly better ground. All season we've been talking about him being a heavy ground, soft ground horse, and Paul Nicholls even said he was a sort of soft ground horse after he was third to Django Bay at Cheltenham. So I just don't think that's going to work for him. I think handstands, on the flip side of things, will find the ground fine. He will definitely stay. He's got better form with Django Bay. He comes into this fresh, having not gone to Cheltenham. I do think he's the rightful fav, and he'd probably be the one for me. As much as I want to see Caldwell Potter win and want to see him run well, handstands would be my vote in this.
There you go. We'll roll on to the next one as well. We're sticking with the Friday. The top novices hurdle, the Grade 1 as well. Romeo Coolio, third there in the Supreme, leads the market. Quebec de Beau, William Money was ahead of him, but they were a long way clear. Romeo Coolio, 5-4 market leader. Triply Flyer, next best in, saved for this. Dodged the Supreme, 7-2 next best. Salvador Mundi, 6-1. He blew out, but stayed on well. Like, I never actually knew his finishing position. I thought he was tailed off and out the back of the telly. I thought he'd pull up at one point the way he was going, and he stayed on fifth, I believe, if I can remember correctly. Diva Luna, next best in, 11-1. 16's Bar. Quickly to mention, lads, look, I really do like Triply Flyer, but he did bleed last time. Ash, I'm going to come to you for this one because how much of a worry going into this? Look, you've got to take each horse on their ability, I suppose, but it must be a factor as well.
Yeah, I think it will be a factor. I think I watched the Fergal O'Brien video afterwards where he spoke about it, and he wasn't too concerned. I suppose you'd have to show it. I don't know if he's been a bleeder beforehand. Off the top of my head, I don't think.
I think I heard 3 times. That's what
I
I
really?
heard. I know it was definitely last time. I heard 3 times. Don't quote us on that, but yeah.
It'd be a worry, and I just worry about maybe his finishing efforts beforehand when he was in top company, when he ran that Grade 2 at Aintree in the bumper last year, when they all thought this was sort of Paddy Brennan's retirement, go home win. He then got collared by a stablemate and probably didn't do much in front. Beaten first time out, maybe needed the run over hurdles, but beaten by Joransson that day, and then sort of 1-2 egg and spoons, and then has gone to Kempton and won that race there, which probably wasn't the deepest Grade 2 in the world. I don't know if he would be for me. I tried to find ways to take on Romeo Coolio, but I don't think I can. So it's going to be a race I'm going to leave out just because I think he's the correct fav. He's correctly priced. He's got the best form. Yeah,
that's fair. Look, these races were previewing them, but you don't have to have a bet. Please do gamble responsibly. There's plenty to get stuck into. Look, it was a long week at Cheltenham, but the 3 days here, you've got the National, you can enjoy races as well. That Lossiemouth Constitutional, you don't have to have a bet. You maybe flying the little angle in, like Harry says, with take no chances. But Harry, what about you with the top novices? Can you find an angle in? Do you really like one? And is Romeo Coolio that horse for you?
No, he's definitely not. He's probably one that.
Good. Let's go.
I think Triply Flyer. Now I know you lads have been questioning about him bleeding. I mean, this horse took every hurdle with him at Kempton, and he still won by 7.5 lengths. I genuinely think this is
Kempton. Did you see go through the last? Absolutely ploughed it and still put it away.
No, he's just. I mean, I know you mentioned about his finishing effort, but bar the last 50 yards in that Aintree bumper, he was the way that he kicked clear. That was it. He was gone. And I really, really, really think that Triply Flyer is an absolute machine. And I just think that if he has learned some, and I know full well that they've done some schooling with him up at Ravenswell, so that's absolutely guaranteed. He's just a very classy horse. He's very raw. And I think if he's bang there, then with Romeo Coolio, there's only going to be one winner for me. And Johnny Burke, he's running out of his skin. Fergal had another good winner today. He's just flying, and he's got a really, really good Aintree team this year. And fingers crossed it comes home with Tripoli Flyer, because I'd love to see it. And the owners deserve it as well. Every owner deserves a Grade 1 winner, but I think obviously this horse especially, the owners gave such a great interview to ITV. I just think that Ishmael, that's it. Yeah, I think that he supports Fergal, and both him and Fergal deserve it. Fergal definitely deserves it.
Eyes on the Gordon Elliott form. He's not in the greatest nick at the moment, I don't think. I think he's I just get it up now. He's 1 from 32.
Yeah,
that's
3%
not
in the last. But his horses have run to form. I did put a stat on there. I think I want to say around 67. I'll have to double check that. His horses are running to form still, but he's only had 1 winner from the 32, whereas Willie Mullins had 8 winners from last 12 runners.
Yeah, I just wonder that for Romeo Coolio. I do think he has the best form in the book, but I just wonder if the stable form is right there right now.
To be honest, on this race, lads, I thought Romeo Coolio cut out in that Supreme. I thought something was going to come out to say there was something the matter. People can say, look, Quebec de Boer and William Money beat him in that 2 good horses. I totally get that. I think he was slightly disappointing for me. I don't know if he was just disappointing on the whole, or I thought there was something wrong. I thought he cut out like a light, to be honest. Romeo Coolio, 5-4 market leader. I do like Tripoli Flyer. That is a niggling worry, but with second to Horace's Pearl, who hasn't done so bad in second to Horace's Pearl in that Grade 2 bump last season at the track. Lads, we will roll on. We're rattling through these. Plenty of stuff to get stuck into. Ash is going to change the screen so I know which one I'm on. And it is the Melon Chase. I thought it was that. I just wanted to check. The Grade 1 Melon Chase. Look, John Bourne, he's back. Bounced on a fence at Cheltenham. He hasn't done his best work at Cheltenham, but he's basically unblemished away from Cheltenham. Lads, I know you used to love John Bourne. He's a real supporter of him, big fan, because he's been bagging these Grade 1s away from Cheltenham. I just thought it was just one of their mistakes. I don't think it was Cheltenham. I just think Nico sent him at 1 and he bounced on it, and that was it. He's run a huge race to claim second. He would have been third if Quilixios hadn't fell. But 4-6 against El Fabiolo, his old nemesis. El Fabiolo beat him in the Arkle. John Bond beat him here in a Grade 1 novice hurdle as well. So they're matched there. Protectorat in at 6-1, and Matata will be setting his stall out, let's say, 33-1. There's only the 4 runners. Slightly disappointing, but Ash, I'll go to you first. John Bond, 4-6. Is that a price we could get stuck into?
I mean, he wins, but it's not my kind of price.
Okay.
Look, he's.
Can I put something bigger then? What about you both put your hands together, 13-8, slightly short in the Juvenile? Could we double up, lads?
Yeah, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with that at all. You probably won't get 2-1, would you now? I just think, look, John Bond wins this, doesn't he? El Fabiolo probably isn't. You kind of thinking why he's gone off the ball slightly. You think, is it the age? But he's actually a year younger than John Bond, so it's not that. You haven't really seen too much. He's beaten Western Asia last time out, which I don't think is the greatest piece of form in the world. I think John Bond will win this. I don't think there's any query to have.
About what I thought, a little squeak with Matata in John Bond coming to claim him and that 2 faltering.
Maybe I would have had Hartwood here, but he's not running, which is a shame. Matata's probably not a bad shout just with the form of Massachusetts.
He will never ever beat John Bond in his life.
No,
he'll
the forecast though.
Lads, I think genuinely just move on from we know John Bond's going to win. El Fabiolo, people saying with this and that about the record, but every bar that Arkle, John Bond's beaten him fair and square every time they've met. They went to Sandown and he destroyed him. I just think John Bond's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, let's all agree John Bond wins. We can move on to the next one as well. Look, keep them comments coming in as well. Keep them posted. We will give that free bet away. I'll do that. Then for the national, I'll give like 2 tenors or 20 quid to someone as well. And we will do the head-to-head as well. We're going to do that at the end. Get the best bet from the lads. They're going head-to-head. And they're going to give some dollar to the Indian Jockeys Fund as well. The Grade 1 Sefton now. Wide open race. Caliph on Vol is 4-1 favourite. Mr. Megget stepping up in trip 9-2. Jacob's Ladder 11-2. Battleboard Lad 13-2. Familiar Dreams 9s. Argento Boy 14s. And Moon Rocket 14s. You can get 20s bar those lads. It is wide open. Like, I think this is a tough race to be punting in, but I think you can find an each way angle in. And what say you, Harry? Come on, give us the winner of the Sefton, the Grade 1. And that's it's the second last race on the Friday, so they're keeping a few Grade 1s back, aren't they?
Yeah, no, this race will always be in my mind for what Appleway did. From the front end. That's just the way it goes. It's one of those races that I was looking through it earlier, and I just can't find one that you'd be so confident of backing, knowing full well you're going to get a proper, probably Mr. Megget is probably one. It's one of those races that if I'm having a bad week, I absolutely will stay well clear of this.
Yeah. Keep it fresh, brother. Yeah, that's fine. Keep it fresh, lads. Look, we don't want to do what we're doing. We're trying to find winners and look, even each way players at a price to get that dollar in the satchel. But I think it may be one to keep dry. Ash, have you found a play in this Sefton novices? Plenty of big prices, and look, you can get each way please even on the market leaders there. Mr. Megget does have to step up, and we'll just mention Gordon's record as well. John Doe's, I think they're on a 17% run to form I've seen as well. And I can't remember, I think they've had 2 winners in a handful. What do you make of that? Do you think Mr. Mega can step it up? And what's your play if not?
Yeah, like the John Joe stable probably hasn't been on the greatest form all season, really. They haven't really been firing too much. They've been firing the winners here and there, but they haven't really had that big one, have they? I can't really think of one off the top of my head. I would worry about that, and that would worry me for Petit Tonnerre. I'd also worry about Mr. Megget. First time tongue tie. He's at the big layoff. They've sort of been rushing back to get him running these festivals. I don't know. That's a lot of ifs and buts for me at 9-2. I just think like you try to find ones take Califay and Vol on, and then you just go, no, like I can't. And he's not a bad price. And I've been saying since that Huntington win in the City Banks last time out, this is a good horse. And it's only because you see him at 4-1, you think, oh, can I take him on? But I'm not going to. I just think that yes, no questions asked wasn't great in the Martin Pipe, but they sort of rushed to get him there. They ran in that maiden hurdle. We got lashed with a sort of rating in the high 130s. I don't think that was ever sort of like, it made everything that he could just blow out in the Martin Pipe, and he did. But he's got the form there. He absolutely bolstered up at Kempton on Hurdle's debut and beating As Legends Have It. We had Ben Pauling on the show way ago at the start of this season, and he gave As Legends Have It as a horse to follow. As Legends Have It sort of franked the form nicely. Subsequently, in behind the likes of George's Lad, who's got the form with Potter's Charm and all those different types of horses from the British novice hurdle scene. He's got the form with the new line and finished second to him at Newbury. He'll like the ground. He's out of a mare who won on decent ground over 2 mile 5. I think he's got the right profile for a race like this, and Nicky's yard are going well. They've saved him for this race. I don't see an issue to take him on. Califay and Vol 4-1's not a bad price at all.
Just seeing Richard Hogan's comment, Lee. Sorry, Lucinda does have a couple in there. King of Answers being one at 40s and Jupiter de Mott. I'm sure, Lee, actually, you might. No, I don't know whether you know much about that horse, but he definitely just looks like he will hate that ground. I think there was quite a bit of reputation. Jupiter de Mott, he won a bumper at Weatherby, and I'm sure he came with a pretty hefty, reputation. And he obviously got beat pretty skinny odds by Crest of Fortune, who's also in here. So those three are about the same price for Honeyball and
Crest of Fortune is not a bad price, but they coming here and not going to the handicap, and they had him entered in the handicap. I don't know why they're not going to the handicap. 125, you probably go very, very well. But I think it says enough that they're coming here. Honeyball's also got another one running. Is it Brookie? Later at some point this week, who was entering the handicap. I'd have fancied him for the Red Rum. They've gone to the Grade 1. It's absolutely sickening. But he'd have a chance in each way. I just think they've always liked him of the Honeyballs. He's got some half decent form in the book behind Royal Infantry and stuff, and he could run well at a price. But again, like, you're just trying to make a case for a horse, and you go, Calafé Involve's probably just the best horse in the race.
Yeah, look, just quickly on King of Answers. I am going to be at Aintree with Cam Sword. Of course, he had Corrick Rambler win the national, so they're going back to the scene of the crime. They were disappointed with the run last time out at Utoxeter, and they expected big things off the back of the Newcastle win, and they were all the roads to this race even before the Utoxeter run. So they just thought this race would sudden down the ground. So they're expecting a bigger run. I think he was like 100s into 33s at one point. So I don't know who's on, if it's Cam or not. I'll have to ask him. But yeah, good luck to him and the connections. Listen to Russell. We will go on, lads. We're steamrolling through it. So I want a Saturday, Ash, I believe.
Yes, Mersey.
When you're ready, the Mersey.
This is the Lamba.
Is this the one, Lamba? Grade 1 Mersey novices. Yeah, look, Lamba, switcher here in to this race. Plenty of anti-post dockets, like getting slammed into Twitter there, and Nicky getting pelt as always. But changes now, steps up and trip. Nicky just thought the step up and trip on the ground, that will help him. So Lamba, runner-up in the Triumph, just got pegged there by one of Willie's 11. 5-4 market leader, Lamba. Cocktail Divan, 4-1 next in. Horses Pearl, who were mentioned before, they're 8-1, won the bumper here, the Grade 2, and beat Tripoli Flyer. So look, keep an eye out for Tripoli Flyer. That might be a sign for Horses Pearl there, and done nothing wrong this season. 8-1. Blue Devassi 10s, Miami Magic 10s, 12s. Bar that. Ash, I'll come to you first. Lulamba, little bit of a debacle on Twitter because Nicky changed his mind, which is life. We're allowed to change our mind. He's doing right by the horse and not anti-post punters. Look, add a little bit on in a different bet. C'est la vie, such as life. So what do you say about Lulamba? Can he step up and trip and bag a Grade 1? Look, he was runner-up and didn't actually win that Triumph. So what do you think?
I'd say like he can go well in a race like this. He ran in the Triumph and he looked like he would probably benefit from stepping up in trip. The fact he was prominent throughout, he was there quite on the front end coming around the bend. East India Dock kicked a couple lengths clear and then he sort of stuck on by and picked him off late on. That suggests, and these Triumph runners and nearly winner in the case of Lamba, they always sort of stay a little bit further in time. So he does have the profile of a horse who's going to be stepping up in trip in time. And Nick Henson's obviously pulled the trigger early and decided to go and step up in trip in the same season. I had in my notes, because I went in my notes for this, I did it before the Lamba news, so right at the start of the week, and I had penciled in Bleu de Vassy as one at a price, and I just don't want to ditch him each way, and he's probably why I think that Romeo Coolio is going to win the top novices, because he was beaten by Romeo Coolio at Leopardstown at Christmas. He absolutely belted one of the final hurdles, and that sort of was race over. Went to Leopardstown, ran no sort of race on soft, but he's probably better on decent ground. He won his hurdles debut on good ground, absolutely bolstered that day. Went to Navan and ran a fine race and won the Grade 3 there. He was sort of always being penciled in for that Navan race, so he sort of answered the questions.
Where's
there.
Navan?
Connections.
Navan?
Well, a lot of people, Navan. I'll go with.
Oh, I love it when he says it, Navan.
Sounds like
over
Graham Rodway, the same, doesn't he? Navan.
I just don't know how to say it because I got done.
Navan.
Navan. We'll go with Navan then. But I said Turles, but one of them. He beat Champagne Kids in a bumper at Clonmel on softer heavy in April. Our form's not too bad because you see this Cocktail Divin at the top of the market. Went and beat Champagne Kid by 6 lengths at Leopardstown last time out, and everyone's like, wow, what a performance. And then you look at this piece of form, you go, well, that's interesting. He's probably not a bad price, 10-1. I just think he's going to be the one that's going to maybe potentially light the ground here. And he has been looking like a step up and trip would work for him. He ran in a 2.5 mile bumper on heavy, and he won that bumper on 2 mile 2 on heavy. So I don't mind the step up and trip at all. He'd be one for me. Bleu de Vassy at 10-1.
Nice. Look, Horace's Pearl just keeps catching me eye. Every time it scrolls by, I think it's each way. Like, I haven't actually looked at this race. I'm not even going to lie. I don't know what I'll back in it. I don't know what. Lulamba, if it was over the 2 mile trip, I thought that's what he requires. Sorry, I thought he was learning on the job, in the Triumph. And I thought if he goes to that race, I would back him. The step up in trip and against these different kind of horses, let's call it. Yeah, I don't know if I'd take any trace stab. Harry, what about you? Lulamba, 5-4, is he short or is he a banker material?
Yeah, no, I think he is short, Lee. And I just think there's a couple in here, you know, Cocktail de Van. That horse was very impressive at left stand. Now, the form's nothing to write home about. You know, there's a few in there that have been absolutely stuffed, including, you know, the likes of the second and the third. But Horace's Pearl is another one that's in there. And, you know, Sally, who owns this horse, absolutely loves it. Saw her at Cheltenham, and, you know, they absolutely adore this horse. And the way that this horse won at Newbury, you're thinking, oh my God, like this horse is a proper tool. And, you know, Fergal's got the likes of Tripoli Flyer, and, you know, they're starting to get a good few yardsticks in there now that can compete at the top level. And this horse is definitely one. Really, like, you can't say this horse doesn't deserve his chance in a race like this. He jumps for fun. The step up and trip at Newbury just looked to kind of absolutely dreamland for him. He obviously beat Ludor. He beat Pierre. I think I got Piero Jaguen or Jaguen of Murphy's Yard.
The big horse. That bit.
But then I just think that this horse, Horace's Pearl, is the ground will be perfect. You've got question marks of Lulamba now, albeit he didn't do anything wrong at Cheltenham, and. But he beat Mondo Man. He's coming here off 3 runs, quite quick turnaround. Horace's Pearl, I just think at 8-1 is a big price, and I'd rather lose, you know, a tenner each way than losing 20 quid back in Lulamba at 5-4 when there's plenty in there that you can take him on with. Now he does obviously get the weight allowance, which you've got to factor in, but I'm willing to take him on.
Lads, we'll go on to the next race. Yeah, look, I keep looking at Horace's Pearl, and I think that probably is going to be a big. We've got the Triumph betting there coming up.
I'll read the prices to you because I forgot to do this banner for the Liverpool hurdle. Tiupu 9-4, Kitzbühel at 5-1, Home by the Lee 6s, Home by the Lee. Strong Lead the same price. The Woolpark 7s, Gwenny May Boy at 8s, Hidden Valley Lake at 12s, Jimmy LeSearle at 16s, Buddy 1 20-1. Bigger the rest.
Yeah, look, just for anybody watching at home, look, there's a few of these are definitely going to come out. We don't know which ones. Look, I would say at least 1 or 2 will come out of the race. I may be wrong. Look, that's my interpretation of it. But the final decks are not out until tomorrow. Is that right? Yes. Yep. Yes. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. I believe. So yeah, just keep an eye out. If you're all watching live, look, this is recorded. We will put it up on the YouTube channel so you can watch anything back and have a scroll through them selections. But yeah, just keep an eye out maybe until final decks. What do you like? Look, Strong Leader. I remember you two lads were very strong on Strong Leader last year. Went and done the business, stormed home. Under Bowen, they've been absolutely flying. We'll talk about that strike rate of late. Ash, maybe you can get that up. I haven't got it off the top of my head, but they've been in flying form. And we see Bowen, like, he pulls something out of the fire all the time, doesn't he? Harry, I'll go to you, Ash. Checks up on that one. What do you like in this? Are you going with the Bowen team again? Look, you Bowen and Murphy, you were strong on them last season. I remember that.
Yeah, no, I am, to be quite honest. I think Tiupu is just, I think it proves he didn't do anything. Say again?
Will he come here on the ground? Do you reckon Tiupu is going to come here on the ground or not?
Well, to be fair, I think they kind of have to, you know. I think they'd be a little bit sick that they obviously got beat by Big Bad Bob storming up the Cheltenham Hill once again in front in the stayers. And then you've got Kitzbühel. You don't really know much about. He was very good at goal run. He won at no odds whatsoever, but he looks a bit fragile. Home by the Lee, you know, his race is over at the I think it was like the fifth hurdle, wasn't it, or the sixth? He's got the form, but strong leader. The more I come back to it, I just think that, albeit his run was bad last time, but I think it wasn't that bad because obviously he finished behind Maghull Road and the likes of Lucky Place. It just Cheltenham's not his track, and there's a few that are going to this meeting that Aintree is the track. This is the time of year, and I actually think it was probably Ollie Murphy's decision rather than the owners to not go to Cheltenham and come here instead. And I think that's a smart move. Like you said, Lee, Murphy and Bowen are absolutely flying. This horse will probably be held up in the rear. He's the best of the British by a country mile. It's just whether the Irish have got enough from Cheltenham to overpower him. And at 6-1, I think I'd rather be with. I'd take my chance on strong leader for Bowen, who will get a good tune, and I can't see him out of the 3 regardless.
Yeah, look, where Ballet Clover, he's an Eitri thief there for Harry. I can't see him out the top 3. That'll do me. Ash, what about you? Did you manage to check that, Ash, as well? What the rate is?
Yeah, they're 35%, I believe. I think it's 8 from
That's ridiculous at this time of year. At this time of year as well, that is ridiculous.
Yeah. That's why I was looking at Mullins one, and I thought, even in the last fortnight, he's had 8 winners from 12 runners, and one come second, one come third, and one come fourth, I think, and the other one pulled up. But it's that dip, isn't it, in the middle? Like you're seeing, like at this time, should they be banging in all these winners? But Ollie Murphy maybe is in the mold of like a Nichols, make hay while you can. What about you, Ash? What do you think? Will Tipo come? Do you reckon in it? If not.
I don't see a reason why they shouldn't, but like they have Punchtown right there, and he has no issue with Punchtown. But it is probably long enough to come here and then go to Punchtown again. Like he does tend to sort of be saved for these spring festivals to go well. As much as he probably did get caught on the ground last time out, he's got a grand chance, and like he probably is not a bad price at all at 9-4. I'm tempted to play him just as a win-only prospect, as he just ran into a really, really good Bob Olinger in the Stayers, who capitalised on a race that went perfectly for him. They just turned into a sprint test. He sat right off the back, picked up off the pace nicely, and I think the Stayers was run perfectly to suit Bob Olinger, and T.B. was only beaten just under 2 lengths. He's probably not a bad price at 9-4. I can't get out of my head how Buddy One should have won last year, and he was just basically he got to the front too soon. And it's probably a ride that Jack Gilligan would want back. He got to the front so far too soon and was picked off. And I just went back and watched his Stayers run at Cheltenham last time out. He's run an absolute belter. They've switched him off massively. They've gone completely different tactics. They've gone right out the rear. He stayed on past horses. He's finished 5th behind the Wool Park and Rocky's Diamond. I don't think that's a bad piece of form at all. And how he's been ridden compared to how he was run in the Liverpool hurdle is stark differences. I could see him outrunning his odds. He likes this better ground. He obviously goes well around here. I could really see Buddy One running a big race here at 20-1.
20s.
20-1 for Buddy One, yeah. I just think he's going to enjoy the ground, and it was a nice piece of form last time out. Yes, strong leader beat him in this race last year, but I just think if you ride him a bit differently, you can get a bit of a better result out of him. I think Buddy One's not done yet, and he's 20-1, so I give him a chance. But Tupu's not a bad price. It's just the Stayers division's always a bit muddling, and it still is.
Yeah, it definitely is. Look, whether you think Tupu will come here and take his chance on the ground, that might be a good price, 9-4. Strong leader each way for Harry, and Buddy One at a big price. Take a few pence as well each way for Ash. We will go on, lads. We're sticking with the main race here. Waiting the Grand National. Look, there's a few changes to happen. It is 34 runners now. The cutoff will kind of know where we're at by tomorrow. There is a late. Ash, you tell us, or either of you lads, there's a reserve system, and does that cut off on Friday now?
I'll let Ash decide that. Because I have no idea.
Because there was,
I don't know.
Yes, okay, I've kind of threw that at you. I remember the There used to be I can't remember exactly. Look, I've threw that out, but I need to check that. But there's a cut off. But look, there's going to be 34 runners, hopefully. Aroko leads the market with Stumptown 9-1. You've got plenty in on a 10-1 there. Look, Vanillier nearly took the wrong course in the cross country behind Stumptown. He's around a 10-1. Mark Hewick, the King George winner from a couple of years ago, costly at 100 quid if you didn't know. 10-1 shot. I Am Maximus, last year's winner, up in the weights there, but 10s as well. Percival Legalwa, 12s. Intense Raffles. Now, on the drift, Intense Raffles, the grey there, was well supported in around, I want to say 7s or 8s at some point, now out to 14s. But please do shop about. There's plenty going to be trying to take a few on, and if you can get that extra price where you can, look, take it. Harry Cobden's on Condu Kid. I know he's a bigger price. Lads, look, I'll quickly start because a couple that I like, I might as well mention and give you time to maybe get maybe 3 that we're kind of homing in on, and then we can discuss them. So, look, I like the case for Stumptown, but maybe talk about him just maybe in a bit more depth. He won the cross country well last time out. He beat to go around these fences and take to it easily because of that run. He stayed on well. Ash, there's kind of going to be no problem with Stumptown for fences and staying. But I seen Gavin Cromwell was worried for his couple of runners about the turnaround and the race they had in that cross country. Vanillier is the other one there. Stayed on well into third after nearly going off the course. But he was second in it 2 years ago. Failed to cut much mustard in it last year. I think he was 14th in the race last year. But he's back on that mark that he was second 2 years ago to Current Rambler, I believe it was.
Yeah, I just wonder with Stumptown if he's got an inflated mark from running in cross-country races. Like, the Grand National isn't a cross-country race. The Grand National is, just it's more of a like big field handicap chase these days than a specialist discipline. I can't get out of my head that Stumptown was this sort of 140 horse over fences. Like, he was pitching up Cheltenham at the, was it New Year's Day or December meeting one time, and he won off a mark in the 140s, and he's now sort of got a mark of 157 from winning a cross-country race very easily on the bridle, and then winning the cross-country, very good, beating potentially just other cross-country horses. I think it's going to be a massive different race, and it was a huge effort he put in. It was 3 mile, what is the cross-country stage? 3 mile 4, is it? Something very 3.5, yeah, 3.5. He was off the bridle early enough and just stayed on with a big, powerful effort to get up the hill. You think, brilliant. Just wonder about the distance between Cheltenham and Aintree for him. Enough negatives in my head. Shall I go for my 3 or
well,
was there anything else to talk about?
We'll quickly discuss a couple of the market leaders. Harry Aroko, look, he's classy enough. We're seeing him second to Kelso there behind Great Dawn, and he might frank the form tomorrow as we speak. What about Aroko? Like, is he lurking on just such a good mark there in the JP colours?
The thing is, I don't think it's that good of a mark. I can't see this horse being like a 160 horse or mid 160s horse. Whereas you look to the likes of I Am Maximus, last year's winner, who had any amount in hand. Aroko definitely has a few pounds in hand. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but I don't think he's that well handicapped. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Will he stay a fight?
I don't think that'd be the question. I think all he's kind of shown. Well, in fairness, he hasn't really been able to show it, but I think he's he shapes as if he'd stay. Obviously, it's the big question mark. There's just I think he's obviously a favourite now. There's just 3 in here that I'm going to have a good go each way on.
I'm going to choose maybe 1 more each. Ash, I'm going to give you Intense Raffles. He's been on the drift. He doubled there nearly in price, but he was one of the market leaders. He's been kind of plotted to this race. And look, what do you make of this Intense Raffles? What do you make of the drift? Look, he's double in price. Could he be like a saver price now at 14s?
I think he's just probably, I don't use this phrase very often because I don't understand it too much, but he's probably just not a horse for the model men kind of thing. He's just not he's not the type of horse that's going to get latched onto in the market in the models because of trainer connections, the fact
He's a great.
He's a grey, yeah. No, he just like, he's this horse that you don't know where his ceiling is in his mark, but he has been given a lofty enough rating in 151. He won an Irish National on heavy. I just, you don't know with him. I wouldn't be his biggest fan. As much as I can see the case for him, I just do worry that maybe the ground's just tightened up a bit too much for him, and I don't know how far he can keep progressing. As much as he's a cracking horse, and in a good race behind Nick Rocket last time out, I just wonder if he might prefer slightly softer conditions.
I'm gonna give Harry two, so I'm gonna give you one more. I'll let you take I Am Maximus. Last year's winner, bolted up, had plenty in hand, up in the mark now and the weights. I Am Maximus, can he double up?
Yeah, I think. Which one?
Harry can have it. Harry can have it.
I think he probably can. And I think he's getting to a price now that I think is pretty attractive. The thing is with this horse, you're never going to really see him until this time of year, are you? Especially when they set the stall out probably for this year in last year's race. There was no way he could physically go on and do come back, and unless they were going for a Gold Cup campaign when. It's quite clearly that they weren't when they probably had, they had I Know the Way You're Thinking in there, so there's no need for JP to have that one. He's obviously got this one. I think I was reading something off the Racing Post that Paul Townend did a bit of work on him. It was the first time he smiled and went, all right, he's back. And I just think shithouse things like that is exactly what you're looking for. And I think that's brilliant, and He's one of them on the three. You just can't go away from him.
What about Hewick? I'm going to stick with you for Hewick because I want to ask Ash one more thing before we get the final picks. What about Hewick, Harry? King George winner. They've raved on about. He only cost the £800. He's been winning plenty of races. Look, he's disappointing in a couple as well, though. But he had a spin there recently in an egg and spoon race to get him set up for this. Hewick for the Shark. Can he swim and muddy the waters?
Well, the betting suggests that. I don't know whether it's the betting with your head or your heart. Really, I don't think he can. Yes. That's my honest opinion.
Ground will help him, will he?
Ground will help him, but I just don't think that he's. I just can't warm to him, especially in a race like this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be argy-bargy. Not saying that he doesn't like that because he's clearly a hardy little horse, But I mean, you look at his King George win, he was tailed off and they came back. That form isn't that good. His form actually isn't the greatest. And I think he's going to come up against some really unexposed sorts.
You're not keen on the Shark and the £800 bargain. Ash, I want to give you the one last question before we kind of get the final picks. We'll wrap this up. We've done a little bit of a run through there. You have a choice. You are stable jockey to Paul Nicholls. He's got 5 runners in the race. They're all classy individuals. You've got a likes of a Brave Man's Game, who's a King George winner. You've got the Condu Kid there, who's a Coral Gold Cup winner. Who would you take out of Nicholls' 5? Let's put that there.
I think the decision to make is between Condu Kid and Brave Man's Game. I think it says enough about. I think it says enough about that Cobden is choosing Condu Kid over Brave Man's Game. It's probably been a long-term plan for Brave Man's Game, but I just wonder, he's had his breathing issues. I mean, he's had 4 wind ups now. He's not,
and he's going to the toughest race of them all. I mean,
he's not a guaranteed stayer. He is like that profile, not just in the way he's dropped in the handicap, like Neptune Collonge, in the fact that he's 165 down to 150, 155, I think. I can see that as the angle to back him, but the angles to back against him is that he probably wouldn't stay if he started with 2 miles in hand, and he doesn't breathe very well. So I think Condu Kid is the option, and he's a solid chance, but I don't know. Maybe the Coral Gold Cup form isn't as good as I once thought it was.
Okay, so there's a windy option and a windier option. Let's say. Yeah, look, right, okay, lads. Condu Kid, funny enough, look, he was one that I've had a little saver on there in play. I think around 20s I got, just because he went to the top and he was outpaced. He looked like he was fading out. He stayed on into third last season in the top, and he's had that spin round here. He won well and stayed and jumped well to win that Coral Gold Cup, I thought. He was off 12 stone the last day. It was never going to play to his strengths. I've just had it, Cobden. I think Cobden's on the right one of the Nichols 5. He's a saver, let's say, for me, and it's worth having a couple of darts. Yeah, look, if you usually spend 20 quid on a bet, let's say for example, it's worth doing a tenner, couple of 5. I'll spread it out, have a bit fun, and hopefully we can hit the right mark. So yeah, Condu Kid 20s, I think, is maybe an overpriced one to take each way. So lads, what about yous? I'm homing in on something at the top of the market. I can't find which one it's going to be yet. Let's see. Ash, give us a couple of your darts. Maybe take a couple of players too. You can even have 3. Look, it's the national.
Yeah. Look, going against Harry. My 1, 2, 3 is Iroko, Highland, and Grangeclair West. Iroko, I don't agree with the Iroko's on a bad mark angle. I just think because if James McManus isn't, he's a smart man. Let's put it that way. And if he's labelled Iroko as this Grand National horse at the back end of last season when he was rated 152, if you had said to him, JP, he's going to be a Grand National horse, and you're going to be lining up in April next year on a mark of 152, I think he would have been absolutely beaming. Like, I just think it's been brilliant planning to get him here off exactly the same marks he started the season on. He's run some fine races. I think that form from the Mildmay Novices Chase last season is red hot with, I know the way you're thinking, Hartwood and Chianti Classico. There was a part of me that was actually looking at Twig for about 5 minutes on Monday because of his form with Chianti Classico in the Ultima, and then I just had to look. I had to go look. If he was second to Chianti Classico in the Ultima, what about the horse that finished ahead of him in the Mildmay? I think he's got a great chance. The ground's gonna be no issue, and he's sort of shaped like a horse who should appreciate this trip in time. The second one's Highland. I think he could be the well-handicapped horse in the national. Everyone talks about how you don't need well-handicapped horses.
Harry's nodding.
I think, a lot of people say you don't need well-handicapped horses in the national anymore. It's not that type of race. It's that type of race where you need classy horses. But you got Highland of 147 here. He was second to the Jukebox Man in the Corto Star. He's given too much doing that Kempton race last time out that was won by Katati Dory. But he's a horse that's going to really appreciate decent ground. He smashed up Transmission earlier in the season, who's obviously got the form with Haiti Couleurs and stuff. And I just, as much as this horse has sort of sprung out of nowhere, he looks like a horse who can run well off 147. He's a beautiful jumper. I can see him going well. And then the final one's Grangeclair West. He's the third string of Mullins's potentially, but he's got that glaring piece of form in the Irish Gold Cup behind Galopin de Champs and Fact File. He's 5 from 11, I think, in his career. I think he's 2 from 6 over fences, and he's beaten the likes of Hartwood and Corbett's Cross before. He's probably not chucked in off 163, but he's the one he doesn't actually mind better ground, which I was sort of interested to see in his form book. And I can see him staying quite nicely at the one pace. So yeah, Iroko, Highland and Grangeclair West is my national team.
Will Danny take the ride on Grangeclair West, I believe?
Hopefully, yeah. Maybe
it's Danny, because what's that second string again? It's when
Nick Rocket will be Patrick.
Yeah,
and then you'll have Iron Maximus on Townend on Maximus. Then you've got Johnny Burke on Manila Kakuna.
Yes,
and then you've got Brian Hayes on.
Brian Hayes could be on this actually because he rode him in the Irish Gold Cup. I prefer Danny, obviously.
We'll have to check.
Someone said Brian rides. Rich Hogan said Brian rides Grangeclair. That's fine. He rode him in the Irish National, no issue.
Poor Danny's getting ditched by his uncle there. Harry, what about you then? So who's your 3 to home in on? I know you quickly mentioned that one before. What about what's your 1, 2, 3? Maybe is that you want to have on your side?
Yeah, I'd have Iron Maximus. Obviously, I mentioned him, gave him a case. Ash made a beautiful case there for Highland. Completely agree. This horse has been staying on. Really, really like Highland as a type itself. Lovely weight, and he's a classy individual. The form behind the jukebox Man. That's that's up there with the form in this race. And then the other one is a horse we just mentioned, actually, Manila Kakuna. I think Johnny Burke, what a spare ride this is to pick up. I think this horse obviously won the Bet365 Gold Cup at Sandown. He finished behind Nick Rocket at Fairy House, but it was kind of, he looked like he was outpaced, and then he came back on. And I just think that he's off a lovely mark of 157, only £6 better than £6 worse off than his Sandown win from last year. They couldn't really have argue with that, really, especially with Iron Maximus keeping the weights down for pretty much all of the other Mullins horses. I'd say those three are the ones I'd be wanting to go to war with. And what a spare ride for Johnny Burke that is. He was obviously jocked up on Stay Away Faye, who's 100 to 1 shot, and now you're riding a live chance of Willie Mullins's. Fair play, good on you. Get yourself round and go and bloody win, Johnny.
Nice. Philip Murphy asked, would you just stick that back up? So I just want to read it out. After Dex on Thursday for the National, the next 4 horses in line are the reserves. The cut-off point is 1 p.m. Friday afternoon. I wasn't too... Go on.
A quick one on that. I was reading a Racing Post article from January, and it says 1 p.m. on the day of the day before the National. So that's Friday afternoon. For the cut-off for the reserves.
Thank you for that, Philip. Look, I wasn't too sure at the time. I just remember there was the reserve system there, but it's 1 p.m. Friday. So after then, you'll know the kind of final, full field, let's say, just in case one does come out between tomorrow at 10 a.m. and Friday at 1 p.m. So someone might sneak in a place there. Shame about Mr. Van Gogh anyway, remember? Mr. Van Gogh.
But again, the actual idea of it is horrific. He wouldn't have ran, and if he would have ran, it'd have been nowhere. Sarah Bradstock's made this absolutely clear to everyone. This horse is as slow as a boat, but it's the idea of it, Lee. I completely agree that a Midlands National winner cannot be running in a Grand National. That is the idea, and that's the bad point.
There should be winning you're in races for the National. There should be winning you're
in.
Yeah,
there should be. 1,000,000%. It should be 1,000,000%.
It's very American, isn't it? That's how I see it.
Right. So Cocoa Beach is running, right? Yeah. So he shouldn't be.
Don't really slag off Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach is a legend, mate, and he dances every dance. He might not win, but if you're going to pick on one horse, do not pick on him.
It's just because you're narrowing the field to 34, right? Fine, but you can't then take up 5 places with some Gigginstown horses that aren't going to win.
I get it. Look, we could go on about stuff like that all day. We'll probably change the National again. Somebody will have something to say, and the National will be changed next year. Anyways, look, we will roll through. So we've got the Maghull Novices chase there, the Grade 1. It is the remaining one on Saturday. It's after the National. Like I say, with the Sefton, they're trying to keep people, the crowds in for them better races, so they're not just left with the rubbish and kind of depart, I think. The betting says Leo de Sud there, 5-4 market leader, only by night. They rate pose from the Arkle there, 7-4 next best. Caliph de Burley, 9-2. Gidley Park will run tomorrow. Ashes, so he won't go in there. And Touch Me Not, I think, is the other one in. I don't know if Special Carol will get in, but go to this one, sorry. So Leo de Sud, only by night. Maybe's Caliph de Burley. It'll be a small field. Maybe's 4 runners. Any thoughts, either of you? If you haven't got one, no worries.
No, I've not really got one. I'd probably say Leo de Sud if you put a gun to my head.
I'm teetering on Caliph de Burley, but I need to convince myself a touch more.
That's fair. Try and convince the viewers, not yourself. Look, right, maybe Caliph de Burley, Leo de Sud, look, probably try and reverse form there with only by night the mare from the Arkle run. If Django Bay runs a good race, that'll be an indication for them too as well tomorrow. So keep an eye on. There's a few crossing over, like we said, Triply Flyer with Horace's Pearl and stuff like that. So keep an eye on them early winners, and it might be a good form guide. Right. We'll rattle through that. It's good timing, lads. We're going to go on to the head-to-head. So here's how it's going to work. So you get 3 points for a winner. I'll give you 2 points for a second and 1 point for a third. And you've got to give a nap, a next best, a best each way. So the best each way, it's got to be over 5-1. You've also got to give a lay, which is going to be under 5-1. In the lay, you get 2 bonus points if it does cop. But as well, I want 1 from the national. So you've got a next best each way, a lay, and 1 from the national. You've got a 5-strong team there to go to war with, and you're going head to head for something for a charity. So we'll have a bit of fun with it. I'll take your naps first, so we'll bounce back and forward, do the head to head. Harry, what is your nap of the 3 days of the Aintree Festival?
I think my nap of the week
is...
see, are we going off prices or
Look,
are we 3 points across the board?
It's your trying to bag 3, 2 or 1, and it's your choice.
I'm gonna go. I'll go John Bon as my nap of the 3 days.
I knew you. The crowd's not happy.
But you see.
Hey,
but
go on with it, John Bon. Ash, if you want to double up with John Bon, that's up to you. It's your choice. You might not be a muggy player like him.
I may as well get it over and done with early. Django Bay in the Manifesto.
Yes, go for it. Look, and if you're confident, that's a good thing. Get it? That's it. Do the damage straight away. Race 1, Bosch, day 1. Right. So Ash's is Django Bay. That is in the first grade 1 of the whole meeting tomorrow afternoon, and then Harry's is John Bon to win that Melling there on Friday. So them are the naps. So look, you get 3, 2, and 1 point for the places. What is your next best? Try and give away a price, Harry. Come on, what's your next best?
Yeah, I'm going. But it was bordering. Tripoli Flyer is on my list, and I think he's an absolute machine. So Tripoli Flyer is definitely going in.
Tripoli Flyer, I like that angle. Look, John Bon, Tripoli Flyer, good 2 darts there. Ash, what about you? You got Django on the team. What's your next best?
Yeah, probably just a touch shorter, but handstands in the Mildmay Novices Chase.
Yeah, I don't mind these shouts, lads. I'm not going to lie. I don't mind these shouts. They're 2 good ones. So handstands goes into Ash's team there as the next best. Right, your best each way. So you've got to have it over 5-1. Look, even 5-1 shots, you get your dollar back if they're in the frame there. But what's your best each way? Ash, I'll come to you next. Give us something at a bit of a price for the listeners and viewers.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Ahoy Senor in the bowl.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to say Ahoy Senor.
Look, I work off the top of my head of all of this, by the way. So there's 3 places available, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes, there's the 8 runner. So 3 places available. So yes, we'll give you 3 places. That's what you're getting as the terms are now. So 6-1 roughly, I think, for Ahoy Senor, yeah?
So no, yeah, 13-2-ish, yeah.
Look, he's an each way thief and all, isn't he? Like, good shout, Ash. I like it. Go on, get him. Right, Harry, come on. What about you? You can go the same.
So, I mentioned this horse at the end of the first day's racing, Highland Haven at 22-1 for the Mare's Bumper as my each way selection. She is getting overlooked, and it's going to be it's going to be Fergal Wonderland. Fergal Wonderland at Aintree this week, and I can't wait. Liam Harrison, I just hope they go hell for leather, and he's just steering through them like a good thing. I'll take a place there. Take a place at 22.
Look, I'm gonna Ash, I'm gonna be fair because you got the 3 places. You're guaranteed that. Harry, there's 4 places available on that bump. I do know that because
there is 5, but I mean there's 4, so I'm happy to go with the 4.
There's 4 guaranteed because I've just checked. I just checked. Don't worry. So 4 guaranteed there. So yeah, that's in the bumper there. The mares. So we're kind of all eggs in one basket over the first day there, but. What is your lay? So you get a couple of points. I'll tell you what, we'll do 3 points. If you can hit the lay, you get an extra 3 points to boost that up. Ash, what's the lay? And it's look, it's got to be, you kind of have like a 20-1 shot or something. Try and get something like where maybe it's a favourite. I'll say below 5-1 for both of you then. So I kind of give you a stamp at this early doors, but yeah, below 5-1. What's your lay?
I will take Spillan's Tower in the bowl. I'm not a big fan of him. Ground reasons mainly.
Yeah, look, you're I like to do that. You know, if I don't fancy one, if I fancy one and I don't fancy one, I kind of have the two against each other, if you know what I mean. So a lay and a win, and I don't mind up in the win department there. Harry, what about you? Ash is going against Spillan Tower. He's already got a high scene. You're in the bowl. What about you for a lay under 5-1?
See, I'm just conscious that Tihupu won't go. So for that reason, I'll give you a horse that will go. And I am going to lay Romeo Coolio on Friday. And I just think there's plenty of darts to take him on with. And at 5-4, I think he's very skinny.
Yeah, look, you can, if you're taking a lay as well, them are the type of prices that you'll happily try and get one again. So it's a good lay, Romeo Coolio.
I mean, to be fair, this could go one of either two ways here, because if Tripoli Flyer and Romeo Coolio both trump this last in front, our head-to-head thing is right.
We've both done it, haven't we? You've put up a next best and laid one in the same race. I've put up an each way.
Exactly.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that angle. Double them up and let's see what we can get done. Imagine the both the other two win. You've cancelled them too.
Yeah, that's what that. I can literally see that. We do a review video on Tuesday. We get this graphic up on the screen. Lee will be pissing himself, and there's me and Ash sulking in our corners like this. That's how it's going to go.
Chance, to be fair, Romeo Coolio and Spillan's Tower your layers. But look, you've got to take one of their price and try and get one beat. Yeah. Fair enough. And then we've got the Grand National one as well. So we'll stick that in as well. So look, I'm not saying, look, come Saturday, we might have changed our mind. There's a few might have got in. So look, hold your horses, everybody. Look, it's a competition for a charity, but you know, if you could have maybe one dart now at a price, let's say, who would you take on the National, Ash?
My one at the price is Highland. He'd be my one. I'd say Oroka is probably my most likely winner, and he's in my team. But I think at the prices, I'd be more inclined to get Highland unsigned at the prices.
Right, that's fair dues. That's fair dues. We should put something in about the prices, add an extra couple of Brucey bonus points. Harry, what about you? Like I say, look, it might not be a final selection, but just one you want on the team. Ash is going with Highland. What are you going with?
Yeah, I'm going with Manala Kakuna. You know, Johnny Burt, what a spare ride that is. And obviously Highland was on my team, but I'm happy to take Manala Kakuna. He was one of my big fancies of the week, and I'm glad that Johnny's picked up the spare, because you know it's been a great season for him since joining Fergal, and it could top off with an almighty winner in the biggest race in the world, regardless of what anyone says, still is.
Yeah, look, it doesn't quite stop the world anymore, I would have said, but it is a huge race. It is the feature of our maybe season. You know, they've got the Gold Cup and you've got the Grand National, and especially at Aintree, it is the feature race of the 3 days on Saturday. It is now at 4:00 as well. It was 5:15. It's changed to 4:00. But make sure you bet sensibly and gamble responsibly. Look, we'll wrap up, lads. We're an hour and a half. We've done very well there. We've covered the 3 days. We're going to put that table up. We'll maybe put it on our Twitter page. We've got the Only Fools of Horses racing Twitter page as well. Go and check that out. It is pinned underneath our YouTube channel there. As well, go and subscribe. Look, it is all for free. We've done about 4 years of this, look, and we want to just try and keep getting the subs in that are free. Go and like, go and comment as well who you fancy for the National as well. But I'll just quickly go over. So what was your nap again? John Bond for you, Harry?
Yeah, but the prices, you know, I really fancy Tripoli Flyer. I think he's
John Bond and
he's
Tripoli.
up there.
Your nap and next best, Ash, was
Django Bay and handstands.
And what about your 1, 2, 3 that you wanted on the team again? So you had Highland was one.
Iroko, Highland, and Grange Clare West.
Nice prices. And Harry, what about you? It was I Am Maximus and
I Am Maximus, Highland, and Manila Kakuna.
Manila Kakuna. There you go. Look, thanks everybody for joining in. We will get one of the winners for the giveaway, £20. I'll do I've got a competition on my page there, so I'll just kind of link it in. I'll choose someone at random and give someone a 20 quid free bet or 2 tenors or whatever you want on the national. And also the lads are going to donate to that charity. They're going to go head to head, and we'll find out the results. We'll pin it and put it up on Sunday as well after we've got the final scores in. But we really do appreciate everyone's support, following us. Go and follow Ash and Harry on Twitter as well. What's the Twitter handle, Harry? Harry Beard7, is it?
It is. Well, don't ask that. I was about 12 when I made it. So yeah, Harry Beard7 is the one.
Simmons Journal there. A Simmons Journal, sorry, for Ash recently won across on Twitter. So check that out. Check the Only Fools of Horses page. We'll be back on Saturday as well. We're going to have a full card run through on Saturday from Aintree as well. We're 10:30 a.m. every Saturday morning. So we'll get stuck in and our final decision kind of on the 1, 2, 3 there. Maybe it's for the Grand National, but we can run through the card, and they've got some good handicaps there to get stuck into. Ash is definitely going to have a big price one for them handicaps, I bet. He's always going to find us a good dart there. But again, thanks very much for listening, watching, and following. Thanks very much. Thanks, lads. Appreciate the time. Yeah.
Cheers all.